My name is John Rice. I'm the defensive coordinator at Santiago High School in Corona, California, and today we're going to be talking about strategies for defending the wing T offense with the 3-3 defense. When we talk about strategies for defending the wing T, we think it's really important that all of our staff on all levels, freshmen, JV, and varsity, understand the wing T and a complete system with many components so we can get a better understanding of the entire offense and we can better plan to defend it. It's not the same as many other systems, and it's been well developed over the years. It has many components that a deeper understanding will definitely help all your coaches plan for it. Also, another reason for studying the offense and familiarizing your coaches with it is the terminology is very specific in the wing T community. And if we can learn some of their terminology, then we could speak the same language when we are drawing up run cards and planning and scripting for the offense, that we can have the same names for plays. So we take a look at the offensive system and try to incorporate or learn as much of their terminology as possible. The first thing that we want to do is understand that the wing T is a four-back offense, and any of the four numbered players there is a possible threat. Number one would be the wing. There are plays in the wing T where he carries the ball. Number two is the fullback. We'll refer to number three as the halfback, and four is the quarterback. So we want to understand that all four of those players are running threats in this offensive system. The next thing we want to teach our staff is that it is a series-oriented offensive system, that each series is taught in progression and designed to put defenders in assignment conflicts. In other words, when a defender is supposed to defend a certain play with a certain technique, if he does that and he does it correctly, there's a next play in that series where he will be wrong. So for everything that you do to defend the wing T series, there's an answer for it. And so that's where understanding the series helps your players understand what the offense is trying to do in what sequence. You're usually going to have in wing T series an outside play designed to attack the perimeter. You're usually going to have an off tackle play, an inside play up the gut or a counter play, and a play action pass to flow or away from flow. So you're looking at usually four or more plays in a series that are based on progressive points of attack and what the defense does and how they defend it. So they'll show you play one and they'll see how you defend it. If you defend it a particular way, then they can go to play 2, 3, or 4. So they will have the same action at the beginning of the play, and they're designed to put your defenders in a conflict, an assignment conflict. For example, on the screen we have a jet series, and these are by no means inclusive. They may be different or changed a bit, but here's an example of a series. There could be a jet series, which is just recently, in terms of the history of the wing T, surfaced or evolved. The jet sweep was not original play in Delaware wing T, but it's been added. So for number one, there is a jet sweep where they're going to give the ball to the number one person that we had on the diagram, the wing. So you have a jet play. It looks the same with jet motion. Number two, they could run any of the series, but you could run a jet belly, so that on the bottom left of the screen, if you overplay the jet and you're flowing too fast, they can hit a belly play right quickly to the fullback. So they're going to watch you, and if you overplay the jet and everybody's flowing fast, they can hit a quick hitting play off the jet action. Another thing is they can have a crisscross play. If you're flowing too fast, they can run a jet counter with a crisscross and fake the jet or give the jet and then give a second handoff off the jet motion. So crisscross or counter crisscross is a play also used in another series. And then to complete the series, in this case we have a jet pass, and against a two deep shell they're going to have a pass that's a cover two beater, such as a smash, a stop, and a corner route. And if you played cover three, they could come out with some cover three beater, such as a jet pass with a maybe arrow in a curl. or verticals. So you're going to get, here it is, an outside play, the jet, and a inside play, the jet belly, a counter play, the jet crisscross, and then a jet pass, in this case, a smash. So we want to understand that their plays are going to be in sequences, and they're going to be designed to attack the outside, the tackle, off tackle hole, inside or counter, and a play action pass. And if we understand that, then the players can understand what might come next in the series, and your coaches can start grouping plays in series. Another thing we want to understand is built into the wing tee is an abundance of option. You've always got to have your option responsibilities down and try to have a scheme that doesn't complicate your option responsibilities, because if you're not option sound, the wing tee is going to incorporate an option play or a series that is option oriented so they can progress the option. Number one, for example, we have here on the screen, we have different types of option, and we have the down series, which contains down option. So in the upper left-hand corner, within the down series is down option. If you're playing man defense, that's a wake-up call to perhaps employ some option in man defense. We have some trail motion on the upper right-hand corner, some trail motion by the wing, and then we have some dive option with a load scheme by the fullback, upper right. Lower right, we have some arc option, which is actually some speed option with a load block, lead block by the fullback. And then the bottom right is just a speed option. And there's also dive option to the weak side that's not shown. So there's an abundance of option, and if you are not sound in your gap assignments and you're playing man defense, you're going to open yourself up to some option. The next thing is we got to recognize that the wing tee is going to try to take advantage of formations, shifts in motion to create an overload. Here are some of the basic formations. On the top, far right, where we have the standard formation of a tight end and a wing on the upper left-hand corner, where you have a set end that when the offense was developed, the ends were called set ends, halfback and fullback with a quarterback. Then on the right, you move the halfback up into a slot position, which would be called slot right. On the bottom, they're going to incorporate a second tight end so they can have more gaps to defend. They're creating 8 gaps to defend with 7 linemen. Far right, and X comes in tight, or they could substitute altogether. Or on the bottom, they run a wing overset, which is unbalanced. So there are multiple formations, and you need to familiarize your staff and your players of the use of shifts and motions to these formations as well. To understand the wing tee, it began with the Delaware wing tee system, and it's designed to have the same look on offense and the same initial motion with a series of plays. The best example of that is the sweep, trap, and waggle plays. All 3 plays belong to the sweep or 20 series, as it originally was identified and called. All the plays in a particular series complement each other in some way. For example, the waggle is a play action pass off the sweep. There used to be, or at one point there were 9 series used in the Delaware system. There may be more or less now with some variations, but originally the 10 series was a sprint out series, 20 series was a sweep series, a 30 series was a power series, 40 series was a veer series, 50 series were 3, 5, and 7 step pass drops, a 60 series was a passing series designed to look like the 20 series, so it was play action off the 20 series, 70 series straight drop back, 80 series was belly, and 90 series was lead option. So you may face a team that incorporates some of the wing tee and some of these series, so it would be helpful to look. And also, if you hear verbal checks or verbal audibles, you may be able to get those from the kids and have a list of the series. If they're traditional wing tee, you may be able to pick up some of that. So if you familiarize your coaching staff and your players and understand a little bit of history, you can see there that it has 9 series, and certainly there's been some things added since this was done. Play communication. The Delaware system uses a sequence of 3 numbers if they're traditional. Now, many teams have evolved and they don't use that system anymore, but if they're die-hard Delaware, they may use something very similar to this. It uses a sequence of 3 numbers to communicate the play from the coach to the field, whether it's a quarterback or risk coach or sending a player in to give the play. The first number is the formation. The second number identifies the series, and the final number shows the point of attack. And then you can add a prefix. Well, if you're going to call loose 1, the 1 is the formation. 1 formation could be the formation up on there. So 1 could mean the wing with a tight end to one side and a halfback and a fullback as shown. And then 2, the second number identifies the series, so that would be the 20 series. And then 3 is the point of attack. So you could go odd numbers to one side and even numbers to the other side. So if you get 3 in a series and your coaches understand, at least to understand what a 2 is a 20 series, a 3 is a 30 series, and you're doing some studying over the years, you can understand sometimes what series is coming if they're traditional wing T Delaware system. Now, 121, the 1 formation is the series. 20 is a sweep series, the sweep, trap, waggle series. So 121, and usually traditional wing T playbooks will show how to block each play versus each set, each defensive strategy. A 4-4, a 5-2, a 5-3 in a goal line set. Now with the 30 stack, they've added that as well. So most of wing T, traditional wing T, is man blocking oriented. So each series that a team has, if you show one front, they're going to have to learn how to block each play one way. And sometimes, because it is man blocking, they show, for example, the buck sweep. If you run one front against the buck sweep, they learn one way in practice all week. You run a 4-4, they're going to learn one way. If you employ a second front to them, they're going to have to remember double the amount of blocking. So let's say they run 3 series, and each series has 3 plays in it, and you show 2 fronts. You have now doubled the amount of memory and increased. And if you show a third front, you can see where the memory is involved and there's more chance for them to make a mistake if they are traditional man blocking in a Delaware system. So sometimes stunts and showing different fronts or unexpected fronts may cause the lineman to be stressed and maybe make a mistake on the line if you show more than one front. Now, if you're better and you feel better in one front and you're good at one front, that's fine, but please understand that they're going to teach man blocking, which requires different rules for different fronts. Here's an example. 1 is the formation. The 20 series is sweep, trap, belly, or waggle pass, and so they're going to call 124, 4 is the point of attack, trap. So there's another example of a 3-number system. 1 is the formation, 2 is the 20 series, 4 is the point of attack, and the tag is trap. That would be the second play in the series. And then here's another one, which is a power play. This would be another series, but as you can see, in a traditional wing T playbook, they have to teach each player to block each play according to front and a set of rules. Next, counter crisscross. So again, if a series has 4 plays, in the play, and you run 1 defense, they only have to remember 4 things for that series. However, if you add another front and you run 2 fronts and odd and even, that's a totally different set of rules. Now they have to remember 8 things for that series. And if you multiply 8 times 4 series, that's 32 different blocking rules they have to remember. And if you show them a new series during the game that you haven't shown them before, a new front, that means they'll be expected to learn that on the fly or go back into what they've learned maybe a previous week. So keep in mind, series oriented, they learn to block by man versus each particular front. As far as keys and looking at keys for plays, in the past, over the years, and you're talking many, many years, coaches have traditionally used 4 keys in defending the wing T to try to get some advantage and tell their players, what do I look at if I'm on defense? And if you look in the backfield and you see a lot of conflicting keys, that's the whole point. The point is, if you have players that are looking at a certain key, they're going to get a conflict. they're going to have something that's going to go against their rules. So in the past, coaches have used some of the following keys. Number one, they've tried to key the wing or slot motion. Does the play go to the motion? So they'll take a look at the wing, and they'll look at all the wing motion series, and they'll see what happens. Where does the play go? What type of play is it with the wing in motion? Number two, they'll key the fullback. They'll look at the fullback, and they'll say, if he doesn't come on the midline, which is in the trap series, I mean right over the quarterback when the ball's released, if he doesn't go to the midline straight ahead, he usually would take you to the direction of the play. So if the fullback goes to the right, the play will go to the right. If the fullback goes to the left, the play will go to the left. That has been a key that some people have been able to use in the past. The halfback. Sometimes you'll have the linebacker from the opposite side key the halfback and cross key, or the linebacker to the halfback key him. Or do you key offensive lineman and blocking scheme? So in the past, through the history of the Delaware Wing T, there have been four main keys that coaches will try to zero in on to see if they can use those keys, and they will hold up and give the defense an advantage. If you do key, the wing T is utilized in such a way that coaches will give you false keys. And that means if you key somebody, if you key the wing, then, and they can figure out that you're keying the wing by looking down on the field with a coach, then they can give you a key breaker. And that key breaker means they don't follow certain rules, and your rules are broken, and they can put you in a position where you may make the wrong move. For example, on trail motion, let's say early in a game they run trail motion with the wing, and the play always goes to the trail motion. And you are slanting your line because you've found out that's a good key in your scouting. And you have your linebackers playing tighter to the side of the motion on a check. Well, if they figure out that you're doing that, they may come back with a key breaker and run that trail motion and then run the down series to the other way, or run something to that side, and it'll put you in bad position. So you want to make sure that, and be aware of any key breakers. A key breaker is false motion, example of the wing or slot. Waggle is a false key that's built into one of their series. Power option, which is speed option at the tight end. The Sally play, the counter tray, down motion, shovel pass or trap option. Those are key breakers, just very simple key breakers that they can use if you try to key false motion by the wing or slot. So they may decide to be true to their keys early in the game, and if you get into a check against that, they can pop you for a big gain using a false key. So please be aware of false keys that are utilized by wing T coaches. If you key the fullback, there are at least 3 false keys, and these are just 3 of them, and it's not an inclusive list, but if you are a team and they think you key the fullback, or they hear that you're keying the fullback, or you have your linemen listening to them and they're saying key the fullback, well, there's 3 key breakers they can use right away. You can run belly bootleg, which means, let's review, the fullback, if he's not on the midline and he goes off to right or left, that's the direction of the play. Well, they can use a false key and have him go to one side and have the play go back. And that could be belly bootleg, a Sally, or a belly tackle trap, or counter tray bootleg. So again, we went from the wing to the fullback. There are false keys that are built into the system. Again, if you key the halfback and decide if the halfback goes a certain direction, the play is going that way or going opposite that way. There are true keys within the system where the halfback will take you to the ball. In the sweep, let's take a look at the sweep series and see if he takes you to the ball. In the buck series, does the halfback take you to the ball? Yes, he does. In the gut play, does he take you to the ball? Yes, he does. The waggle shovel pass, yes, he takes you to the ball. The belly series, he will take you to the direction of the ball. The Sally play, he'll take you to the ball. Counter crisscross, he'll take you to the ball. So those are 4 or 5 very common plays in the wing T that if you key the halfback, they will take you to the ball. But there are also built-in false keys. Waggle itself is a pass play, and if you follow the fake on the sweep, they're going to run somebody and drag them behind you. So the waggle pass is a false key for keying. Waggle shovel pass is a fake one. Belly bootleg, belly X block option, belly keep pass load, Sally, counter crisscross. So if you're going to key the halfback and you think you're having success, be ready and be aware that there are false keys they can use to get you in a position where you feel comfortable and they can use a false key to totally get you out of position and then take advantage of where you're weak. So let's go now to strategy. What should we do now that we're aware of the formations and motion that are used to cross? What should we do when we are aware that there are keys and false keys involved, and how they call the series? We're going to check for false keys. Literally, if we sit down and we're going to look at a wing T team, we are going to have copies of the video out. And what we'll do is, let's say we have the 4 keys. We will have 4 coaches. One coach will take a copy of the video and he will identify every motion from the wing and see if he can find a key. Then we'll have another coach take the video we have and key the fullback and see if we have a key. We'll have another coach take the halfback, see if we can look at him. And then we'll have another one with the guards and see if we can key guards and lineman schemes. Okay, so we'll look and see if we can develop any keys. If we have any of those coaches come back and there are very little or very few false keys, and they seem like they don't have false keys, then we may be willing to coach that week in a way where we're going to take a look at that key. But we're always going to be aware of that we may be hanging on to a key and they may break it during the game. And we have to coach and have the attitude as coaches and the mindset that if we need to change on the fly in the middle of a game and they show us a false key, that we may need to get off of it. Or we can have the attitude as this, that they use false keys so few times, and it's a non-significant factor. There's not a significant risk. For instance, we may have a lead in the game that we're comfortable with, and we just decide to tell the defense, look, we are several touchdowns ahead, or if we're lucky enough to be ahead where we feel we have a cushion, we can say we're going to stay in our keys. We're going to key the halfback. We can tell the play side linebacker or the halfback side linebacker, we're going to key the halfback this series no matter what, because we're not afraid of the false keys because they don't hurt us as well, or the plays that they use from the false keys are not a danger to us at that time. Okay, so again, check all your keys, and if you can find one of the 4 traditional keys, halfback, the line, the fullback on the midline, or the wing motion, if you can find one of those that uses no false keys, use it. If you can find one that has few false keys, you can decide to use it anyway, or you can get off of it as soon as they make you go out. So that's number 1 in our planning. Number 2, we can help our defense before the ball is even snapped. Before the ball is even snapped, we need to make sure that we're aligned properly and we are countering all attempts by wing T coaches to outnumber us at the point of attack by formations, motions, or shifts. Number 1, adjust to all formations and motion. Do not allow ourselves to be outflanked. They will do everything they can by motion shifts or formations to outflank us. And if we don't adjust when they adjust, then we're going to be in trouble. So number 2, there's a strategy, there's a thought of defense, a strand that says blitz the wing T out of the 3-3. Blitz, blitz, blitz. I think if you can get away with that, fine, but I think good coaches, and including wing T coaches and double wing coaches, when you put everybody on the line, they're having a party because they're going to block you down and they're going to get the ball to the perimeter. They're going to block down and pull, and you're going to have big trouble. So I think it's really important that you don't make the mistake of walking everybody up to the line of scrimmage on a regular basis, because if you do, sooner or later you're going to pay for it. And number 3, if you are going to choose to run man coverage, you're going to open yourself up to some possibilities that you should be aware of. If you run man coverage, then they can employ several types of option that will leave you naked against a pitch man. So beware of man coverage versus the option. And then you've got to know your keys. You've got to know, each player on the field has to know what you've decided. If you're a cross key team, then run your cross keys. If you are a lineman and you read guards, then you can certainly do that if you want to. But again, 4 things. Adjust to all formations, motions, and shifts. Don't allow them to outflank you. Number 2, don't put everybody on the line of scrimmage and blitz, because sooner or later you're going to pay for it. And number 3, beware of man coverage. And number 4, know your keys. Adjusting to formations. Let's take a look at the 1 formation that we identified earlier. This is a standard wing T formation. And basically, we make sure that we count people on each side of the center. So on the top, on the left-hand side, you have the wing, which is 1, the tight end is 2, the tackle is 3, the guard is 4. Anybody on the midline is considered half a man. The center is a half, so that makes 4.5. The quarterback is a half, that's 5, and the fullback is half, so that is 5.5 on the left side. On the right side, the offense in this case would have number 1 man as the receiver, 2 is the tackle, 3 is the guard. The quarterback and center are half a man each. The fullback is half a man, and the halfback is 4. That is a balanced formation. It has 5.5 on one side, 5.5 on the other. So we want to match them pre-snap. If they have 5.5 on one side and 5.5 on the other, we want to do that. And we do this most of the time during the season as well, unless we are challenging a team to do something. So, for instance, if we are challenging a team into the boundary to run sweep into the boundary, and they get in this formation and we want to defend the field, then we wouldn't necessarily stick to this. But generally speaking, between the hashes, we are going to make sure if they have 5.5 on one side, we're going to have 5.5. And if you look at the defense on the bottom, 1 is the corner, 2 is the spur, 3 is the end, 4 is the lion, 5 is the nose and the mic as halves each, and free is a half. So we match 5.5 versus their 5.5. And so our whole key is, if we're going to play it straight, when they make an adjustment to alter this 5.5 to 5.5, then we're going to adjust. All right, here we go where they have just moved the halfback up into the slot. He's a receiver. They also will move him 1 yard and 1 yard off the tackle, so he can be tight or wide. That's 5.5 to one side and 5.5 to the other. Just moving the halfback or motioning the halfback to that side, we don't need to make an adjustment. We can leave everybody in our base defense. Another formation, there's another example where they walk the halfback into a very tight alignment off the tackle. He's a tight slot. That remains 5.5 and 5.5. We don't have to make an adjustment as far as our defensive alignment. They've gained no advantage by that. Here is where we start to having to move people. If they move the halfback from the right side of the formation or the split end side, and they move them to the wing side, that causes an unbalanced formation with 6.5 defenders on one side and 4.5 on another. We have to do the same. We need to move one whole player over and flip a player, or we have to move or shade 2 players that were half players to full. In this case, what we've done is we moved the mic over to the guard, so instead of a half, he becomes a full player, and we move the free safety. So if you count there on the diagram, they have 6 players, we have 6 players. And it goes on and on. And so we look at their formations that they use in the coaching meeting on Saturday when we're getting ready, and we drop their formation cards, and we decide on our adjustments that we have for each formation to make sure our base adjustments to make sure that we are not allowing the offense to gain an advantage by formation, shifts, or motion to these particular formations. Now, our base alignment versus the wing T, their base set. It's not drawn to scale. As a matter of fact, on the screen, the halfback would be more over the tackle, but a base alignment, this is what we see the most of. We see a lot of buck sweep, boot pass, jet sweep, and belly, and they don't all belong to the base series. In one series, we see them spread across many series, but that's mainly what we see. We don't see a whole lot of Sally, and we don't see a whole lot of jet sweep. We do sometimes, but if it comes in conjunction with another series, then we see it inserted in there. But we don't see the traditional jet sweep series. We see the jet sweep play. All right, the next thing we do is when we make sure that we have adjustments to formation, shifts, and motion, we're going to avoid some things that are going to put us at risk before we snap the ball. We're not going to put our players in a position that's going to make us vulnerable, over vulnerable, and we feel that it's just too dangerous. Number one, if they run any kind of load option or lead option with a halfback, okay, we want to avoid wrong arming. And let me explain that. Most of the time in our defense, we have a spur bandit in cover 3 if we're playing 2 backs, and they are going to force the play inside. Sometimes into the boundary, we will have the bandit spill it to the outside so that the play runs out of bounds, and we're in effect using the sideline as an extra defender. But in any case, if you were a wrong arm team by any outside backer and you're going to wrong arm stuff, you would put yourself at great risk if you were going to wrong arm any series that came into the flat with a lead block. And the reason is, if they block man-to-man on your corner and you wrong arm a lead block to try to spill it, then you're going to have trouble. So we don't wrong arm. Sometimes against double ring, we will wrong arm things and spill them as well. So when we play wing T teams and we get any load scheme, and we would do this in group and in inside drill, and we would include the spur and bandit in inside drill, and we would run some option in an option drill as well. And any load scheme or lead scheme with the back coming out, the halfback to the spur bandit, we're going to make sure that we squeeze that play and we don't wrong arm. We're not going to wrong arm that when we do. We would do that sometimes to the boundary in our regular scheme. And on the screen there, you can see two examples of, and I have the bandit in both cases coming up to meet the halfback on the left and the fullback on the right. Is we don't want to have that happen where we get in a bad position by a technique that we teach. So we are going to, again, spur bandit, we're going to squeeze on a lead block. Okay. Another strategy that puts you at risk. We're not going to be in man coverage if they run a jet series, or a jet sweep is a good play for them. Because if we get in any man coverage and they run a jet sweep and they run it from a compressed formation and we play man coverage and we take 2 steps down as displayed by the screen and they run jet sweep, we have no perimeter defenders. And in other words, that's an assignment conflict. We cannot tell, and we don't do that generally in our defense, we don't tell our defenders to cover man-to-man and have another run responsibility and defend the flat, because that would leave yourself open to pitch pass. Again, if you tell a player, hey, we want you to cover man, but we still want you to be the pitch defender or the force defender, and they run a pitch and you run up, they'll throw the ball over your head. So we are either going to play zone or man, and if we play zone against wing T, we feel we're in safer position most of the time if they run a jet series. So take a look at the diagram and take a look at what can happen if you're in man coverage and they run a jet series. You take steps down, you lose your perimeter defender, and then it's one-on-one for the jet against your free safety. Here is a quote that has helped us develop a strategy to utilize the free safety and the corner in run force. And this is a quote, and I'd like to read you this quote. Wing T teams have traditionally had a great deal of difficulty attacking these defensive spacings. It means normal alignments versus wing T, because wing T coaches have elected to stay in traditional formations with a tight end and wing back on one side and a split end dive back on the other. That's traditional wing T formation. In bold on the screen it says, by offensive coaches doing this, they are playing right into the hands of the defense. Why? Because the free safety usually will favor the tight end side, or at least key the tight end. Why? Because the free safety favors the tight end side so that he can cover the tight end when the defense elects to blitz. As soon as the tight end blocks down, the offensive coach has created another linebacker. In other words, and I'm coming off script here, from the screen, is when the free safety is keying the tight end and he gets his eyes on a run read from the guards to the tight end and he down blocks, then we can fill the free safety and he becomes an extra run defender. Now, in the middle of the screen, it says the corner is also rolled up to the tight end wingback side, and he's assigned to cover the wingback in his outside third zone when they blitz, if we play zone pressure or if we play man coverage. When the wingback blocks down, that corner becomes a run defender and he fills automatically as well. When the wingback blocks, another additional linebacker has been created. So what they're talking about is when they run down blocks by the wing and the tight end, you've created 2 extra run defenders with the free safety in the corner. By now, the offense is hopelessly outnumbered. I'm back on script here, but many coaches stubbornly continue to try to force the buck sweep and other tight end wingback plays into bad numbers. So from this, we take then, and that is a quote from a very famous wing T coach who's been running it for years, very well known, and this quote came up from him. And what we got from this was that when we had any any formation tendency, situational tendency where we were able to get a key with the wing and the tight end blocking down, the free safety and corner filled very hard. They filled very hard and came downhill for run support. And that also allowed us to make the ends wrong arm some things on tackle trap and sweep, wrong arm pullers to spill the play out to the corner or the free safety to the wing side, and I'll show you that later on a diagram. So our point was this: number one strategy after we get lined up and we're making keys is get your strong corner and free safety flying up to support the run. When they get down blocks from the wing and tight end, we get them flying up. Now we're going to go through another series of keys here, things that we do periodically. Number one, we're going to slant to an Okie tackle. Old Okie defense was a three-man front, non-reduced odd front. We run a 3-3, but if you run a 3-4, it could be the same. We are not going to slant the end to the halfback side, but we are going to slant the nose and the end to the weak side. That is, if you take a look at the different plays they run out of this, how can that be helpful? Well, if they're going to run any kind of belly series to the halfback side, and usually they will fire out a man block, and that guard to the halfback side is going to fire out on our ram. Well, the nose has a better chance to disrupt the play by slanting inside. Also, if they run a down series away from the halfback to the wing, if they're going to slant the end, he's going to be able to try to beat that full block by the guard and the tackle as well. And if they run sweep, they pull both guards, and the left side end over there on the tight end and the wing side is able to get in the and disrupt the puller as well. So we feel that is a good strategy and helps us in a number of different series. We're going to slant weak with the strong end and the nose. Strategy 2, we will occasionally slant away from the halfback. And the reason we don't slant the end to the halfback side is we feel there's too much possibility for us to get hurt by that. So it's a controlled slant, and we're slanting to. Now, how can this help us? Well, we take a look in deciding when we're going to do a stunt or a slant is, can it be effective for us against the most different plays in different series? So we've taken a look over the years and decided these things help us in more than one series or one play. So if we slant two with the nose and the end to the end with the tight end and the wing back, that helps us if they run the buck series with a sweep. It helps us to get in the guard, his hip pocket when he pulls to the tight end. It helps the end to remain outside and play against the down block or the double team as well. Next is, once in a while, on a calculated strategy, we will slant all three strong. But we have to be very careful when we do this, because if we guess wrong and they run a belly series to the halfback side, we're going to be washed down and we're going to create a bad situation. So very controlled. We pick our spots. We will slant to the strong side. And that helps us versus belly. If they run straight belly give, we're okay. If they run belly option and the quarterback comes down the end, we're going to lose, and we have a gap exchange. And whenever we have a gap exchange between the right end here and the ram, we're going to change option responsibility. So we want to make sure if we're going to gap exchange between an end and a linebacker in any defense that we understand option responsibilities change as well. Strategy 4. Because we have the free in the corner filling hard on all down blocks, we would like to wrong arm any pullers. So this is the sweep series. We have down blocks by the end and by the tight end and the wing, and then we have guards pulling. Well, if we have down blocks, we're going to have the spur wrong arm that guard and try to spill it outside to an unblocked corner and free safety filling inside and out. So we're going to wrong arm the sweep, which is shown here. We're going to try to wrong arm any long trap, and we're going to try to wrong arm any tackle trap and spill the ball outside in these schemes. Okay, here is a tackle trap series. And we're going to try to teach our linemen, again, to wrong arm anything interior of the line and try to spill it, play side to the strong side. We're going to wrong arm the tackle trap as shown here, and you'll see some of that in the video. If you get a wing T belly option series, our defense, and we review this, is built. We have built-in option responsibilities if we're playing soft cover 3. Number one, in our option rules and our base defense, by alignment and gap responsibility, the end is a C-gap player. He is a quarterback player. So our end has quarterback. In our base system, our Mike and our Ram, because they are A and B gap players, they have dive. So our dive is going to be taken by two interior backers. Our quarterback's going to be taken by the end. And then our bandit, who's sitting back there uncovered, is going to go to the pitch. Now, our free safety is playing quarterback to pitch always. If they happen to crack and use a crack scheme with the end cracking on the bandit, then we crack and replace with the corner and they switch option responsibilities. But in our base cover three, if we're going to get a lot of wing T belly option, we can play our base defense. And if we do have the end slanting, if we're going to run a slant by the end to the halfback side, we have a gap exchange. The end would be now a dive player and the Ram would be a quarterback player. Now, once in a while, we have to be very careful about this, is change your option responsibilities to mix it up. This goes back to old option defense where you would change your option responsibilities to mix up the offensive blocking scheme. So if we decide to pinch the end to the halfback side, we can do that with a call. We can line him up in a 4-eye. We can straight out slant him down by himself or in concert with other linemen. Then we have a gap responsibility change. So our quarterback player now becomes the Ram and the end has the dive. So we can change that up. Once in a great while, we can use this to the boundary. We might do this. If we get a steady diet of belly option, we can have the end arc out to the pitch man and we can have the backer take the quarterback. And it's just a swap. Now, if we do this, we're going to do it to the boundary and we're going to make sure that we work it hard in inside drill and team as well. This is a third option to change responsibilities against belly option. Now, another thing on weak side belly option is we're going to, if we get a key with that type of motion and we get both backs coming, and that's a good key for the free safety, is both backs coming to the point of attack in the belly series, and recognizing the belly series looks like this, the quarterback is not going to be able to escape the free safety even if he gets by the end. Our free safety, we play tight as we've discussed in other videos. He's playing between 7 and 8 yards. And he is flying inside out, and he's a quarterback to pitch player. So we're going to get him playing the run hard, and he is going to recognize the belly series and what his responsibilities are. Let's review the successful strategies that people have used. This is a point-by-point review of what we've done. Number one, we've reviewed the 4 base keys, fullback, halfback, wing, and slot, that coaches have traditionally used. We're going to check each one of those keys and see if we can get something that will help us get to the football and give away what they're doing. We're going to analyze for false keys from each of those 4. If there are none or very few of those keys, we're going to utilize that key until they make us get off the key, or we're going to use it anyway with the attitude that the damage they can do with a false key is not worth switching our key. Second, we're going to check the wing back trail motion for tendencies. If valid, use a key. We're going to avoid man coverage versus heavy option schemes because we've seen there's nobody for the pitch man. We're going to avoid wrong arming technique by a flat defender if you do that versus a load scheme because there'll be nobody for the pitch. We're going to avoid man coverage if they use a jet scheme because we've seen compressed formations can lead us across the field and leave too much of an edge. We are going to use the corner and free safety to fill hard off of tight end and wing back down blocks. We're going to slant to the weak tackle with a strong end and the nose. We're going to slant to the wing with a strong end and the nose. We're going to slant strong with the ends and the nose. We're going to wrong arm pullers with the spur bandit and interior lineman on sweep trap and tackle trap. And we can mix up our option responsibilities. And the last strategy versus wing T runs is on a belly series, we're going to make sure the free safety recognizes both backs coming for belly, and he's going to fill hard playing quarterback to pitch. Let's take a look at some video. Take a look at some cuts versus the wing T using the 3-3. And there's several different variations of the wing T we get. There's double wing, but it's wing T principles on the sweep. Again, the formations are different, but the series are the same. That was the jet sweep run from a slot by the halfback. Okay, here it is again, trail motion from the halfback. And this time we have the spur coming up and squeezing instead of wrong arming. Here again, we have motion back to a slot, and then the halfback runs a sweep. And we're able to turn the play back in. Again, we have the bandit, it looks like at the bottom, spurs at the bottom here, 1 and 1 off the tight end. He comes and forces a play inside. He's not as aggressive as we'd like. Now here is some motion to the sweep, and we get some good feel from the safety. There's some motion, and the corner, actually that's the corner that comes up. Now here's a good wrong arm right here by number 19. We're wrong arming from the bandit on the sweep, trying to spill it. So the bandit comes up, wrong arms the puller, and just destroys the play. All right, we have some pressure called. Looks like we're bluffing them. We send them and then on the trap. Usually you get a trap out of the sweep series, so the backfield is made to look like sweep, and they run the trap, and we did a good job plugging that up. Here's a down series. We do a good job with the line on that one. There's wing T on the down series again, and the linemen are making good plays. Now we have the spur walked up on the wing here. All right, here is an unbalanced set, and they run the down series, and we get penetration. And penetration is always good against wing T. If you can get penetration without sacrificing too much, it's also beneficial. Here's belly series with the halfback from a slot position, and they insert him as a blocker, as a lead blocker, instead of from the halfback 2 yards deep. He's inserted between the tackle and the guard. Here's a belly series again from a real tight alignment with one back. It's still wing T principles because it's still a halfback in there, but they're a spread / wing T team. Here's a jet sweep with a lot of shifts in motion. Notice we shifted over and we got people up and involved in the play. And then they run sweep backside. The spur comes up and does a great job. Okay, we'll have the spur come up and squeeze the first guard who's pulling, and then we have one of the linemen break through the nose and make the play in the backfield. Again, we got the spur walked up on jet sweep. Does a good job with penetration before they can block them. Again, we're playing our base defense here, and with a real aggressive spur reacting to the down blocks. Now here's wing back counter. We have the bandit come unblocked and make a play. Number 19 is the bandit here, and he's gonna cross key and see the back coming right now. Okay, here's some shifts. We have the spur and bandit playing up tight to the line, reacting to down blocks, and they're trying to get an advantage, and we have the spur come off the edge and make a play. Spurs at the top, bandits at the bottom. There's a belly series, a lead play. They're trying to hit it a little bit outside. Spur does a good job getting off 2 blocks and making a play. Here's a shift out, but then they're still running wing T, trying to run it from spread. Okay, with a jet and then a belly to the other side on 4th down. And we do a good job going low and plugging the holes on 4th and short. Unbalanced X over, that's an unbalanced set with X over to the other side. And then they shift the fullback. We're a little bit slow getting an adjustment made. And now they're going to overload even further and try to run the ball outside. We do a good job with our pursuit. Same thing. They're in the same position there, man for man, but when they motion, they have an extra man. When they motion them over, they're going from a half man to a full man. These are, there's a pass, and what we're trying to show here is our pass reads. Okay, we sent the bandit on that one. As an example, when they're in a straight drop back series to determine who your pass rushers are and make sure that you get a pressure. Now on rollout here, we took a bad angle, and I think I put that in because we took a wrong angle. If you watch again, we have the bandit on the outside, and he comes underneath the block of the fullback and takes a poor angle. Okay, we have motion by the halfback in a rollout series. And that was a free safety blitz, and he ran all the way across the field. So halfback motion, we're in man coverage. Free safety is going to come from center and chase the quarterback all the way across the series, across the field. Okay, shift and short in a rollout play right here, and we're going to bring the spur off the edge. We're in man coverage. They don't run jet, so we feel we can do that, and we make them throw the ball incomplete in the end zone. Again, a shift. We're in man coverage. You can see the tight end is manned up by the spur. We run with the corner and the wide receiver. They roll out. We get them to get rid of the ball on 4th and short. Incomplete pass. Thanks for watching. If there's anything I can do to help you, please feel free to email me at zacoach102@gmail.com. Have a great season.